Hello, Jessica. How are you today?
I'm good, Heather. Thank you for having me. How are
Absolutely.
you?
I am so good. I'm really excited for our conversation. We just were talking a little bit before we hit record. We are doing a business consulting session today for our podcast listeners. And so they get to hear a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it takes to kind of dissect our businesses and our lives and kind of the intersection of the two and how we make it all work better together and just really put a microphone to these conversations because even on this show we interview people that have like already kind of been there, built that, and taking it back a few steps to also some of the a little bit of the messy stuff is also really valuable. And so thank you for volunteering to tell us
Absolutely.
about your business and working through some of the things that you've got going on, and hopefully providing some help and support today. So, would
Yes,
you mind starting by just sharing with the people that are listening what your business is, please?
absolutely. So I'm Jessica and I operate Cinder Coaching. So I am a personal life coach. I have a certification with the ICF, and I particularly focus on people who are overcoming challenges, looking for empowerment. I love the idea of co-creating. So if that's, working on your business goals, your life goals, personal goals, whatever that can look like. I just love empowering people, creating a positive mindset, and really finding the solutions that work for you and where you're at in your life. So I'm happy to extend that through online services. And I'm actually in the works of providing that to another sense of the community through the state. So that will definitely be more information
Awesome.
to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so great. So we had you fill out like a little questionnaire, kind of like an intake form, just so we made sure that the time that we had together today was like really powerful for you and
Yes.
helpful. And so a couple of the things that you mentioned that are going really well for you in business right now, you have some clients at the moment that you just love watching that transformation happen for them. So the
Yes.
work that you're doing when you get in there is being transformative for your clients, which
Mhm.
is fulfilling you and helping you just be like, yep, this is why I do what I do.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
And I know this role provides me with passion and purpose, which I love, love, love.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the offerings that your business currently has, and then some of the goals that you have for yourself and where you want to take your business in the future,
Mhm.
so that we can kind of start to dissect. What I really love to do is I love to reverse engineer in business. So taking where we are, where we want to be, and then creating the steps that it takes to happen from backwards, right? So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about you just started your business pre-COVID.
Mhm.
So maybe had a little bit of time of in person and then had to quickly like shift to online.
Yes.
So yeah, tell us about the services that you provide right now and what you hope to provide in the future.
Absolutely. So right now, I do just one-on-one coaching through just virtual coaching. So obviously, we can't meet in person at the moment, but I look forward to that being something to expand into in the future. So that looks like whatever you need it to look like right now. That's pretty general.
Mhm.
Because of my education, I do focus on solution focused, um, positive psychology, and transformational coaching. So usually I think of that as, I love the discovery period though. So if somebody is just feeling like they are, kind of stuck, or life just isn't headed in the direction they want it to go, then I can really sit down with somebody and really pick apart and help them see and highlight issues of, what might be holding them back, or implementing new behaviors, new mindsets to help them move forward and really create that dream life that they're looking for, that happiness, that alignment within themselves, both on the inside and outside perspectives of their lives. So right now it's just the one-on-one coaching, but I look forward to expanding that into more programs and group coaching. And then as kind of, I have a background, my little sister is actually handicapped. And so I have a very special place in my heart for that community. And so that's actually part of the reason why I got into life coaching today, because I want to extend those services to people who might not be able to have those otherwise. And it's definitely something I've experienced a lot working with my younger sister. And so through the state, I'm working on becoming a life skills coach as well as a community engagement guide. So that's where I help them set goals, but I also help them achieve those goals. So it's very hands-on, very rewarding, and that should be coming up here in the next month and a half or so.
Awesome. So the other programs then that we'd be looking at adding would be more focused on the one-on-one client that you're already doing, like developing programs to serve more people at one time and provide a group aspect of that. Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about maybe some of the things that are a little bit challenging right now, where you're getting hung up, kind of some of the pain points. So it's brand new business.
Yeah.
We started right before COVID. You mentioned that previously, like in-person networking was like so powerful for you, but now that's been really limited to what you can do. And so you're having the slow build of organic growth and kind of having a hard time of like, how do I get that networking aspect back without the world being ready for that yet? And then just all of the responsibilities that are on your plate that you have to do that also is like time. How do we balance all the time? Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the biggest pain points. Did I miss any pain points that you're currently experiencing in business?
No, I think that's a pretty big one. You hit all the right ones, to be honest.
So I love the idea of taking what you do one-on-one and turning it into like a program or group coaching. I think that that's a very powerful model, not just for us as business owners to really help us maximize the time that we're spending and making sure that the revenue that we're generating is really, hitting where we need it to be, but also the amount of impact that has for the people that are in the group coaching or program or whatever the setup might be for them. And I think is a really beautiful model because so many people are missing in-person connection. Even when we were in person, we're missing in-person connection with the people that were going to help propel their growth.
Yes.
So I think that a group coaching program would be a fabulous thing to implement in business and make sense on so many different levels. Do you have any thoughts or ideas around what that group coaching program would look like or what it would be called or kind of like what the specificness of that would be?
Absolutely. So that's something that I've been having a lot of conversations about lately is kind of niching down. And I have kind of a dichotomy with it, to be honest. I don't want to rule anybody out. I want to stay open-minded. I think of myself as a forever student. So I want to continue to learn from clients as well. I think it could be a very mutual relationship. However, I do understand that particularly when it comes to group coaching and doing programs, you have to be a little bit more fine-tuned. So I have been doing my research and started writing some programs. And I think where I'm going to start is kind of with this mindset empowerment. And that has a lot to do with, just finding confidence in yourself, finding a positive direction and just not feeling lost anymore. It also has to do with mindset and figuring out, do you have a problem with, negative self-talk and how we can kind of reprogram that. And I think that's just a really good launching pad for anybody, no matter where they're at in life, is just figuring out how to, fuel yourself in the right ways, how to have that dialogue with yourself that's going to influence growth and positivity. And I think that it just can really set people up for success. And so I think that's a really, really good start for people. And I think it's also maybe not quite as intimidating as some of the other coaching programs that I've considered.
Yeah. when you think about the person that's attending this program, what, when we talk about niching down, it is so hard, right? And like to
Yes.
your point of like, I know that I can help so many people, so I want to really keep that open. I love one-on-one work for that, right?
Mhm.
Where it's um we can cast kind of a wide net. We can help a lot of people one-on-one. Group coaching programs just needs a bit more of a like with what's the word? With parameters around it,
Yes.
with some guidelines, with some boundaries, because for a number of different reasons. One, even marketing the program when we get to that place of like calling people to come sign up.
Mhm.
Anybody that's confused as if it's for me or not for me, confusion does not lead to people registering. So while our intention might be, I don't want to leave anybody out, we should really think of some ways to like narrow down a couple of specific like kind of personas or groups of people that would really benefit from it. So, and that could be as simple as in our marketing messages, we are speaking to people specifically that have lost their careers or jobs
Mm.
during this last year and are
Mhm.
feeling a little bit lost and don't know where to go. And they're kind of reconsidering what all of their options are. That could be a group that we like really are narrowing down on. It could
Definitely.
be um, moms that have all of a sudden found themselves of like, okay, now I'm home. Maybe I was or was not working before, but now I'm home homeschooling.
Mhm.
There's a lot more pressure on me. I'm feeling like I am not really sure about my own mindset. I don't feel empowered whatsoever. I don't really
Mhm.
know which way or up is down. I'm kind of seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't know like if that's gonna dim away again or if it's gonna
Right.
stay there, right?
Yeah.
So even thinking about the types of people that like we really want to reach with our messaging and like who this program could be for so we can speak to that.
Mhm.
Speaking a little too broadly will not get the results that anybody's looking for. So it is this tough thing that every business owner struggles with though, because it's
Mhm.
like, I know I can help so many. So yes, we could always open up our programs. We could have multiple programs for homeschooling moms, for people that have lost their jobs, for people dealing with, whatever past addiction and value things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But we could have all three of those programs running. But in order to help the people feel safe, to feel
Mhm.
transformative, and to have the right people in the group with them, we need to make sure that we really cultivate who is this safe space for so we can help you find the transformation, right? So it'd be
Yeah.
the first thing that I would just have you spend some time thinking about, like who, if I had to get really specific, who would this group be for? That's going to
Mhm.
help us fill our program. That's going to help the people have the most transformation as possible. And it's going to help our marketing efforts because we know exactly who we're speaking to. And people are going to get really clear on if it's for them or not for them. And all they have to do is consider if they're ready to make the investment and do the work to make the changes yet or not if this is right for me or not, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that'd be the first thing is we just really figure out how do we niche down this program specifically to the group that we're looking to do and then start to kind of create it and launch it, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, a group program could be launched at any time, which is the amazing thing.
Right.
And, could really be helpful in speeding up kind of that growth and again, maximizing the time that you're already spending in your business, but just helping more people.
Mhm.
So the steps that I would have for you in that is I would define what type of program you're going to be creating, like the specific audience. And then I would identify what does like how many people are in this group? What feels like a safe amount of people that we would have max? Is that 8 people? Is that
Mhm.
20 people? Like what is that?
Yeah.
So then you're going to get your how many? And then we're going to look at how like what is this made up of? So do we do everybody has some homework to do so that when we show up, we talk about what they went through. Do I lead them through the work, like kind of workshop style, while we're all on the call together?
Yeah.
And think about how you want that format. So, like, what does the conversation look like, right?
Yes. I actually love that you say that because I'm a huge fan of homework. So
Yes.
I'm all for homework.
I am too. And I think that that's where a lot of transformation happens for people is when they go
Yes.
do that on their own and then are able to come back to a place like a group and talk through that. If they didn't do it all the way, right? It's also like an
Mhm.
accountability piece of like, well, why didn't you?
Absolutely.
Or if they don't show up, then you know, like something's a little off. Like they're getting stuck. How can I
Yeah.
help them?
Yeah.
And it also helps the results for them
Mhm.
be just really authentic and true to them, as opposed to like, I love workshops. We host a lot of them. And oftentimes, especially when we're kind of in that space, we're really ready for transformation. We can hear other people's thoughts and ideas, which can be very helpful for us, but it might derail what is actually calling us inside to really come out.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree.
So
Yeah.
having them do that on first, and then we all talk about it.
Yeah.
And then if there's other takeaways, they're like, oh yeah, that person said that thing that really resonated with me. That's an addition as opposed to this is the path you're now on and not going on
Right.
your own path, right?
Right. Yeah.
So then, okay, so we're figuring out the setup of the like the calls and the structure, if you will. And then we also need to figure out how long this is. So, how many weeks, what the price point is,
Yes.
and then our marketing messaging. And then, last but not least, our implementation plan.
Fantastic.
Okay, so there's 7 steps, 7 things for you to figure out on for your group program, and then you're ready to rock and roll.
Easy. It's just that easy.
Easy, just that easy. There's a lot of work to do in that, right? Because then there's
Yeah.
also the psychology of like, and one thing that I appreciate about your honesty and your on your form was really struggling with the imposter syndrome that can happen. And it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Where like we're new in business or we're new in an endeavor in our business. Like maybe we've been in business for a while, but we're trying something new.
Mhm.
Or maybe it's just a Wednesday and we just woke up feeling like, what am I doing here? Right.
Yeah.
So it
Right.
could be anything that really comes into play. And when I see people go on this journey, oftentimes that comes up the most when we're pricing, because then we're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do not know what people are going to think of me.
Mhm.
I wonder what they're going to say about me trying to charge even $5, right? Like, and
Right.
so that's where, we really want to lean into kind of structuring our pricing that makes sense for
Mhm.
us. It's enough of an investment for people to make that they're going to take it seriously, right? So that it's
Yeah.
not just something that you want your group program to be powerful. And so
Mhm.
that means that the more participation from everybody, the better, the more
Yes.
powerful it's going to be for everybody else, not just for you, but for
Right.
the people that are in there in that room too, because the more that people are on that journey together, they're going to bond together. It's just adding on to the overall experience, a safe space that you're providing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So pricing, have you thought about pricing your stuff at all? Have you had any issues with pricing your business up till now?
Um, I haven't so far. I mean I'm definitely running prices that I think are fairly affordable in the industry in this location at least. I mean the pricing can range. Life coaching is not a super regulated industry. That's why
Mhm.
organizations like the ICF have come about to help with that. But as far as pricing, it can be whatever you want it to be. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to remain competitive with also, having my credentials speak for themselves in that pricing. and having it be a very, I take my job seriously, and I also want my clients to take our relationship and what we work on together seriously too. So, and that kind of falls back on the idea of homework. I feel like you get a lot more out of the experience when you have something to take away and continue to work on that and really, dissect things on your own time. So you're coming up with unbiased responses. And I think for pricing so far, I mean, I haven't had necessarily any negative feedback. I think the only negative feedback and actually just had a conversation before this meeting with a fellow coach, and he's like, "Oh, you're not asking for enough." And so I've gotten that before, but I know for me, it's also important for it to be affordable or at least flexible enough to where people from different financial groups can have access to it. And so that's part of the reason. I mean, programs that'll be a little bit more set, and because of it being a group, I know that is hopefully more affordable and can reach more people depending on your financial status. But for the one-on-one coaching, I wanted it to still be accessible for people, because that is something that could definitely follow a program where they then turn it into one-on-one coaching. So I haven't gotten any negative feedback, but I do know that it's kind of in that mental health industry without having assistance from insurance. So I know that's a challenge that some people face with that. And I'm trying to, kind of ride the fine line of in between knowing, what my worth is and having people take these sessions seriously, but also still remain accessible to enough people who want this kinds of services.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to add to the either landing page or something that we're going to put together about your program, having a spot about you that lists out your credentials is going to be really important. No matter what you price it at, people need to know that because this is an industry that isn't regulated, like you just said, it's important to list out the things that your credentials that you do have so that people can also, just check in, and it helps with that buyer psychology when they're looking to make a purchase, like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. My investment is a safe one, and so on. The other thing that might be something to consider, because you want to make sure that, really finding that fine line of like, okay, I don't want to be offering prices that, you could offer prices that offer more in line of like a nonprofit. And maybe it would make sense to kind of structure your business like a nonprofit, because there are a lot of benefits to that. If that is a passion and a driver and you want to make accessible programs and coaching services, the nonprofit world might make sense to look into in the future.
Okay. Yeah.
Just kind of a thought. The other thing that we can think about too, when we structure our pricing, is structure pricing so that you have room to give scholarships. So let's say you have room for 10 people in your program and you want to price 8 of those seats accordingly so that you can offer 2 full scholarships to other people that really need it.
Yeah.
That's a model that I've seen work really well, especially for people in a similar space where they do have so much of a give back component. They want to serve people that don't have access to a lot of these resources or don't have the financial means, but really need it and could use the help. And so they make sure to price the other 8 seats accordingly so that expenses are covered, your time is covered, and that it also gives back to other people in your community. Some people fully promote that. Some people don't really tell anybody about it, but they have people can apply for scholarships, and then you take applications as needed. So that might be something else that could be a good middle ground to see if that makes sense for your business, as you're starting to work with starting a new program, figuring out the pricing of it, right? You're going to have a couple of evolutions of what you do from your first program to your 10th program.
Yes.
And so there might be a couple of different ways that you try things to see, where are you able to make the most impact? Where are you able to truly help people? And, because sometimes, the biggest impact isn't necessarily in discounted services, but in the quality of work and the quality of people that are also there.
Yeah.
And so, it is a tricky thing, but it is just also figuring out where we want to start, and then see how, do an audit. Like, how did that go for me? How did that go for them? Like, where do we want to make adjustments and stuff in the future?
Absolutely. I really love that idea, actually. That's fantastic.
Excellent. So we're kind of nearing the end of our time already. I can't believe how fast this is going.
So good though.
So what else, before I let you go today, could I provide any help with? What else would be beneficial to kind of wrap up our time today for you and your business?
That's great. So I actually have a very specific question for you.
Excellent.
So something that seems to be just kind of all over the board, what I've seen in my research, what I've talked to other coaches about, is actually posting your prices. What are your thoughts?
Great question. I do a mixture. So oftentimes for some of our more entry level things, I will post pricing. We're pretty transparent about it. Or it's like really easy for people to find on our website.
Yeah.
Other things, if they're more of the higher end, so how we've kind of structured our stuff over time, right? It didn't start like this from the beginning. Over time, we structured one-on-ones to be more expensive with the direction that we're going with our business, the amount of time that I have to create the co-working space, to do the things that we want to do, to start a nonprofit eventually, to help teens and young girls, to like really make sure that we're making a big impact. I realized that I had to scale my business in revenue and also in my time. So the programs and the workshops and the things that we have in play, we post our prices. It's very easy to figure out what is what. For the like VIP days, the one-on-ones, the things that are more custom, that people are wanting a very specific outcome and everybody needs. I mean, sometimes it's easy as, okay, let's meet for 3 times and we'll create your business plan and we'll, depending upon the scope of the business, there might be a range of prices.
Yeah.
So we leave the pricing off for those types of things that are very specific, bigger project. Let's create kind of a custom package thing for you.
Right.
The other stuff, I think people appreciate the transparency, and it's also good, I think, for their buyer psychology to get used to seeing your pricing on things, so that they can just get used to, this is what it costs to be involved with this stuff.
Yeah.
And, because one way or another, whether it's they find out now or they find out at your checkout page, you want them to feel like everything that you're about is about empowerment, right? So I would equip them with the knowledge to feel very empowered to get to that checkout page, as opposed to wait till they're already there to like then reveal what it is.
Right. Right. No, I completely agree with you. And it's been something that, as I'm getting to work on these programs and such and prepare for that, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I would want to know that too. So, but also in relating to you and, for those more broader spectrum, the larger, more custom kind of outcome based work, that is definitely where I still want to have something customizable. And so that is actually on my page, but the rest is left unpriced because I've gotten a lot of mixed opinions on whether it's worth doing
and
that.
you do there are so many different thought processes from people that are like, don't show it, do show it, don't show it, do show it, show it for this, like it's all over the place. And so running through the lens of like, okay, what are like the values and principles? How do I want people to feel when they interact with me? And empowerment is a big one. And the communication, even with our conversation today and even in like your form you filled out ahead of time. And so I think that always asking, how do I help somebody feel empowered in this process, whether it's pricing or anything, I think would be the question that you ask, and just think through that lens. And then that will give you the answers And there might be times where my advice today isn't the right advice, right? And you do need to not have pricing on there, or someone else's advice is worthy. But if you go through that lens first, then I think that would be the best driver for you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Excellent.
No, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we stop recording, tell the people that are listening today, tell our listeners where they can go find more information about you and follow you.
Absolutely. So you can find my website at www.cindercoaching.com. You can learn a little bit more about me, what I provide, look at some of those online sessions that I offer. I'm also on Facebook, Cinder Coaching, and as well on Instagram, that's Cinder Coaching as well. And I post fairly frequently, so definitely give me a follow and send me a direct message, give me a call. I'm happy to talk.
Excellent. Thanks, Jessica, so much. Hi, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
So good. I'm happy to have you here. Thanks for volunteering for just recorded call on our conversation, just like an insight into our conversation today so that other people can hopefully learn and you get some time too. So I'm excited about this. We're going to start to dive in, but just so that our listeners understand kind of a baseline, will you just share a little bit about who you are and the things that you do and that we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is such an amazing opportunity. So I'm very, very grateful to be on here and do this with you. So my name's Danielle Graber, and I am from Cedar-Woolley, Washington. I am a wife and a stepmother to Amy Jo and Davis, 18 and 16. I am a personal trainer and a high performance coach for my business that I opened up in July, and it's called Graber Fitness Academy. Right now, I offer online fitness classes, but I'm really looking forward and wanting to dive deep into coaching because I feel like that is a bigger need than just the fitness avenue. Mm-hmm. So I'm really looking forward to learning more from you.
Yeah.
How to do that.
Absolutely. So we have let's just break down a little bit of, you start working with clients that come to your classes, you see a bigger need for the underlying like mindset work, like all the things that make us up as humans. Mm-hmm. And so you're wanting to create more offerings and opportunities for you to work with people on that capacity as well, in addition to their health and fitness journey, correct?
Absolutely.
Yep. Excellent. Okay.
Yep.
And have you started to do have you started to kind of play with anything with that? Have you started to kind of build what that would look like?
Yeah, I've definitely had some clients that have come to me and asked me for help, and I would offer as much help as I can. And eventually I'm like, okay, well, I have to, charge for this and do this as part of my business, which I have found to be the challenging part, just finding what that number is. And, but also just giving my goal is to just give people hope that it doesn't have to be this like huge strenuous thing, because it should just be with what you do with what you can with what you have. That's my motto. And I just want people to be able to know that they can be the best versions of themselves, and it doesn't have to be hard. So I want to be able to provide that and teach people that as well.
Excellent. That's great. And so you currently offer online classes. Mm-hmm. And then as people come to you one-on-one, have you been able to figure out, like, do you start to meet with people one-on-one, or have you still kind of not gone there yet with people because you don't know how to?
I have not gone there yet with people. Yeah, I started just a membership base in July. And so really those clients have been my faithful people who come to my classes, my live classes, or they do them at a later time if they're not able to make it. Mm-hmm. But I haven't even really bridged that gap of asking them specifically for coaching. It's more been folks who actually golfers who, that's how I originally started the business, was down the golf fairway.
Yeah.
was really aiming it towards golf specific, but then it was those clients that I was training needed more than just the fitness part of it. They needed nutrition. They needed the mindset. They needed to know why it doesn't take 4 sessions to have all the answers, right? And so the I haven't just gotten to that point of offering what I want to offer.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on starting a brand new business in the midst of a pandemic and doing it with paying clients. Like, that is a huge hurdle. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
The second thing that I love here about what's currently happening is normally people ask the reverse question to me. They normally ask, hey, I'm working with people one-on-one. I want to get people more used to doing some type of group setting type thing because I really need to maximize my time. And I'm spread between all of these other things that I do. And so I'm not really quite sure how to get people comfortable from going to one-on-one work to group work. So I think that the really cool thing that you have going on is that while we can figure out how to layer in some one-on-one work, that would have to be at like a pretty high level, high investment, make it, we really want to set the stage going in that if you want this one-on-one, we're setting the investment high because it takes a lot of accountability. And when it's not a lot to pay to play, then people don't show up and it's a waste of your time. And that's where people get really burnt out in the one-on-one world. And that's why they come to me and go, what about a group? How can I shift to that? So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at creating some type of one-on-one type program. But the thing that I could easily see starting to be implemented immediately is since you already have people that are coming to a platform and showing up for live classes, what if you started teaching live nutrition and mindset classes as well, just to even get started? And maybe your current members are kept in at sort of a founding member rate.
Mm-hmm.
But then as we start getting feedback from these people, we figure out what it's going to look like, and then we expand that out to other people, then we charge a bit more for that, right? What do you think about that?
I really like that. I've always wanted the Facebook groups and stuff where you would teach, once a week. I've always wanted to do that. It was more the intimidation factor of myself committing to, 1 day a week, 1 hour a day for that teaching. But I think what I get not shell shocked, but just maybe shy from is because of how limited my membership started out with, and to growing that, it almost just scared me into like, oh, what if this doesn't work, kind of thing. But it takes time, and I just patience.
Mm-hmm. And each step gives us a little bit of clues, right? So if we start to, we launch something new, and this happens to me every single time I launch something new, I will launch something and then I can pull together a group of people, and then I pretty quickly can realize like where my shortcomings were in my preparation for that course or class or whatever the thing may be. I might have a group of people that I realize, maybe there's 10 people in this group, but really the ideal client for this specific thing, this specific workshop, there's only 4 of those people out of the 10 that are really like, this is what this workshop was meant for. So I need to work on my messaging to figure out how can I attract more people like these 4, because that's who this is really for, right? And sometimes you don't know it till you try it. Another thing that's happened to me in the past and other people that I know that I've worked with is pricing. And so we launch something, we price it because we're like, well, we're new. We need to establish kind of a baseline. I don't really know what to charge yet. So we're going to kind of throw this out there and see. But then it's at a level kind of like what we were talking about just a minute ago, where it doesn't keep people accountable and engaged. It's a price that's too low. So then the people that do have the mindset that are there that are like, yep, I want the transformation. Like, yes, I want the thing. They their experience gets taken away from because we start with whatever, 30 people, and then we kind of dwindle down over time because other people aren't committed as well. So it takes away from their experience. They then start to question, like, is there something wrong with this program? Is it just me? Is it just them? Like, what is that? It creates question marks and confusion. People don't buy when they're confused, right? So they won't rebuy with you. They won't tell their friends about you. And so sometimes we just have to get started just to kind of see where the spotlight shines to then be able to make those adjustments and be like, aha, okay, like missed the mark. There's a little bit of egg on my face. Like, okay, like we wipe it off and we adjust and we like keep going. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that figuring out what would work for you as far as what is a schedule that you could commit to, especially right now where you're not necessarily going to sell right away. You can, but you're just opening this up to the people that are currently within your community. And so what actually works for you? Maybe it's a once a month nutrition thing and a once a month mindset thing in addition to the fitness. So they don't actually, it doesn't have to be a weekly thing. It doesn't have to be that big of an investment on your time. That's where I would start. What works really well for you. And then we can start to put it out there within our current people. And then we can start to get some feedback. And then we can figure out when we market it, open it up, what would that pricing be? How do we kind of adjust from there? Would be kind of the first initial set of things.
I love it. I like
that. And then it just makes it more achievable, right? And you can always layer on in the future. And even if you try something that's a little bit more robust, like it's a couple times a month that you do certain things, you can always scale back. That's a little bit harder when people are paying a certain price and they thought that they were getting a certain thing. But there is a way to do that. So that's where I would start with the group. And then when looking at, there was a couple of other things, like when I looked at some of the notes that I had you fill out before we got started. So we can talk about one-on-one stuff, but I also think that talking about the efforts that we put in to attract new clients seems like it would be a pretty important thing to go over for you. Would you say that that's correct?
Totally. Absolutely.
Okay. So.
Oh, yeah.
And for everybody, right?
Exactly.
So when I asked the question, what pain points are you currently experiencing in your business? You brought up like marketing, right? So telling your story, really showing people what you can do to help them. And then what comes along with new business, especially during a pandemic, like people don't know which way is up or down. You're just lacking the clients that you really want to be seeing coming through the doors right now. So we have some people, which means that like, excellent, we're doing something right. Even if it's our mom, sister, friend, whoever, like we're doing something right because they're still paying for a service and they're still showing up, and everybody only has a certain level of politeness where they won't pay forever if they don't see value in it. So you're doing things that are excellent, which is great. Have you done any like feedback with your current people, like surveys, or just kind of like gotten feedback from them as far as in addition to like their journey, like how it's going, but on the side of, is there anything else that I can do to help support you? How is this going for you so far? Have you asked those questions yet?
I think, well, yes, I did right when I started, I asked for if anyone could write me a review, and
Excellent.
I had a couple people that were able to do that, and it was really awesome. But I think that I didn't do a good enough job, or I didn't really even think to like ask, what more can I do for you? I think one of the downfalls that I do have is a little too much of an assumption of where I think, like when they're casually talking to me and telling me, oh, this is working or this isn't working or whatever. And then I kind of blanket that around all of them. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing the boat of who I'm really supposed to be speaking to. Like, who is that one person or those two people that I'm really like grabbing their attention to? And then I make it so general, and then I'm not really sure who it like goes in one ear and out the other, or it's actually like sinking into. So I guess I'm not really asking the right questions.
Sure. Yeah. And sometimes that takes time to finesse and even figure out like what those questions are, right? That are the right questions to ask. Sometimes it even just takes going to people and just saying like, what questions am I not asking that you need me to ask you of right now?
Right.
And even that level of like vulnerability, which is important, especially in the line of work that you do, leading the way in vulnerability so that they can also show up and be, I'm sure they already currently are, but even more so to really make that transformation, I think could be really helpful for both of you.
Yeah.
And I would lead with that question. So when we are looking at your current efforts of marketing, tell me a little bit about where you feel like your messaging is getting lost. You say you have a hard time telling your story or in marketing in that way. So tell me a little bit more about what you currently do for marketing and just kind of what your process is like a little bit.
So in the beginning, when I was not working as much, I was able to give a lot more effort where I was like scheduling out Facebook posts or Instagram posts or scheduling certain times that I was doing my stories and stuff like that. And now that time is limited, I'm really just doing whatever is on my heart and then saying what's on my heart. At that time. And for marketing wise, I was going through some serious imposter syndrome in the beginning where like I needed to feel like I was doing it like somebody else or trying to execute like how this person's doing it because they have, 30,000 followers. They do this, they're doing that, and so I was really struggling with that in the beginning. So it really had put a halt on my production of marketing in general. So now I feel like I'm putting in little spurts here and there, but I'm not really teaching because I'm not really sure how to. I'm not sure what avenue do I start, and I have like a business page and I have my personal page. And so there's always that question of, do I post on the business page? Do I post on the personal page? Do people want to know me or do they want to know about the business kind of thing? So I'm still really like in limbo of that. But I think, so as of right now, there is no strategy in my marketing. It's just like, just throw it up there and then whenever.
Yeah. Is there any one or two things that you see that like when you do just throw it up there that you get really good response on? Like, do you know what's working pretty well?
Usually when I pour some serious heart and vulnerability is definitely those posts I've noticed, or when they are very fitness specific, when it is talking about about my journey, I should say more specific, not exercise specific. I've noticed that I'm relatable and in my journey. And I like that. I like that that's the message that I want to give. And that's the message that I really, because the journey is the process that really matters. It's not how we look. It's not the end result. Really, it's not the end result. It's the process that gets you there because every end result is different in our mind. Right. So that's usually where I've noticed people gravitating towards.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you use email marketing at all?
No.
Okay, excellent. So that's going to be a really great place for us to start. I say excellent because that just was a clarity moment, not excellent that you don't do email marketing. We want to be doing email marketing because when we go through all of the processes of building up that follower count, which is valuable because it also is like that street cred that we need on some level when there's new people like searching and coming across our page, right? That follower count can have some merit and be important. And the more important thing is to make sure that the people that are following you are also on your email list as well. So Mailchimp is free and a really great platform. It's free to a certain extent. There's like paid versions of it, just like anything else. Have you used Mailchimp before?
I haven't used Mailchimp. I actually use the Squarespace, or I have Squarespace, and so I actually don't know if I pay for the subscription of the email, but I've used it before for like one time, and then I've also used ConvertKit. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that before. I'm not super familiar with it.
Yeah, and I think that was another platform that I used. Service.
And that's great. So if there is something that's already like a plug and play within the systems that you use, like absolutely let's start using that and drive people to join that list. Instagram could go away tomorrow. Some tech glitch could happen and our accounts are wiped out. Facebook pages can be lost. And then we don't have that list of people. We don't own that list, right? So, and email marketing, even though people really don't like it, it takes some strategy. It takes a little bit of thought. However, it is the number one converting method of sales. If you have an email list of people that have like volunteered to be like, yep, I want to sign up and read everything that Danielle has to tell me. I want to learn about the nutrition things. I want to learn about the fitness stuff. I want to learn about the mindset. And then when she has some type of offer to make, I'm intrigued and I want to learn more and will most likely sign up. Email marketing is by far the best way to convert people into paying clients. And it's because they volunteered. It's because they're like, yep, I want it all. And then through our methods, through our strategies, through what we put together in our offerings, we listen to our audience, we hear what their need is, we meet their need, and then they're right there ready to sign up and do, accomplish what they want to accomplish with us. That would be a really great first step in figuring out where it makes sense to layer that within your current efforts. How do you feel about writing?
I like writing.
Excellent.
I do like writing.
When you say that the posts that do really well are when you do show up, you're so open, you're vulnerable, it's about that process and that journey. I wonder if potentially having a blog would be a great avenue for you, even if it's we're limited in social, what we can share. So here are some snippets. I plopped all the rest of it over on my blog. If you want to be notified when a new blog goes live, sign up for my email. We'd be happy to let you know. So that if you miss a social post, you still get the content.
Right.
I think that could be a great way to provide a lot of value to people to really show your level of authority in your industry and in your space. And then when we showcase that, when we go to make an offer of, hey, guess what? Me and a group of people have been getting together for workouts, getting together for some nutrition training, getting together for some mindset stuff. We'd love to invite you in. Then people are going to already hear what you've had to say. They're already drawn and attracted. They're already on your list. And it will be like roughly email lists will convert 15 to 30% of your list.
Wow.
So that's really great for sales, especially when we're very clear in our messaging, right? Okay. The ones that don't get those results are the people that are like, hey, sign up for my list. You don't really know what you're going to get. I'm not consistent in what I'm giving you. I'm only just selling to you. So then people are like, I'm confused. And then again, confused buyers don't buy, right? So I think that could be a good level to really even crack open even more into your vulnerability, really find who's attracted to your message, which will then help marketing efforts when we go to craft messaging around a program that's being developed, your group that you currently have, any one-on-one type stuff. That's going to give you a lot of the keys to figuring out who exactly you're talking to when you just open up and be you.
Yeah. And I really like that just because, you know, there is that sense of, that was another thing when I was going through my, oh my gosh, I lost the word. Not FOMO.
Oh, your imposter syndrome. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When I was really going through that, it really blocked me from being as vulnerable as I wanted to be, especially during the process of hardship that I was going through. I was like, there's people on here that I don't really actually want to see, but then I'm like, Danielle, this is it. Like, this is what it's supposed to be like. And so I do like the idea of a blog just being able to just like, not word vomit, but just be able to just go all out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And explain the process of why I even got to how I even got here, because it is a wild ride.
Yeah. And that's what people want to hear, right? They do want that relatability, like you touched on just a minute ago. Like, that is important to people. They want to feel like they're not just sorry, I think I cut out for just a second. They're not just somebody that has like, you know, oh, they're able to have all these things because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, like, you're relatable. Here's my journey. Like, it's not all easy. Social media teaches us to show the parts that are Insta worthy, right? Like the ones, those moments that are all of the good and not a lot of the bad, but sometimes, right? But then when we do show up in the really raw, really vulnerable, showing the bad, sometimes we get penalized for that, right? Because people are judgmental and they can say whatever. That's why having a blog makes it a really awesome place for just it to be like safe. And you just get to crack that open, and then people relate to you, follow you along on the journey, and then eventually, whether they're ready now or in the future, become buyers. So I would focus on that, and I would really focus on, you know, before we kind of get to the cart before the horse, right? Like, we really want to focus on building that baseline foundation. So that would be the things that I would recommend for you to start doing is I don't know how much time it would take for you to write a blog post. Some people like to just sit down and get it all done at once. Some people need to break it out because of home life, responsibilities, schedules, all of that. I would really start to break out some time just for you to have like creative writing time, even brain dumping different topics you would like to touch on. And, you know, there's lots of different strategy that, you know, we could go into about a blog, but really making it so micro instead of macro. Topics, oftentimes people take on too big of a topic and they try to fit it all into one post, one blog, one whatever. And so breaking it into like micro topics of the one big post gives you more content, gives you more flexibility to really lean into that micro topic, which gives more to people. And people then it becomes more relatable, and figure out how we then layer people into our email marketing and kind of build from there. That's where I really see, like, for now, I think that those would be the best things to do to really get a solid foundation to build from that.
Cool. I like it.
Good.
I love it.
Danielle, thank you for your time today. Where can people go to connect with you online and give you a follow and follow along on your journey?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. So Mrs. Danny Graber is my Instagram. And I also have Graber Golf Fitness Academy as well as my business page. And then just Danielle Graber on Facebook as well.